Okay, so here's the options for the writing. You choose one of the three and answer it in at least 6 sentences. Remember to define all your terms, and always remember the 3-sentence rule. Make a claim, give evidence or examples to support your claim, and explain how or why your evidence supports your claim. So the first option is explain the difference between the structures of sin and structures of grace. Give an example of a specific example of each. The second one, in Caritas and Veritate, Pope Benedict XVI explains that charity is the heart of the Church's social teaching. What is charity? What is charity? Oh, this is messed up. And it should be, why is it necessary for integral human development? What is charity? Oh, I'm not in the edit mode. Anyway. And then finally, explain the relationship between justice and charity. How are they different, and yet how do they work together? How can you incorporate both charity and justice in your daily life? So, let me advance my slide, you silly thing. Oh, did that do? Oh, okay. So this here is the link to the document with the notes. So if we go over here, this is option 1. Whoops. Hang on, let me label that option 1. So option 1 is explain the difference between structures of sin and structures of grace, and give an example of each. The first thing we did last period and the period before that is we just defined what is a social structure, because it's kind of implicit in identifying a structure of sin versus a structure of grace. So social structures are patterns of relationship that help hold society together. So they can be good or bad. We need them in order to have functioning relationships with one another that don't devolve into chaos. When we did the lesson, we said that one structure, a social structure in a school, is that you raise your hand when you want to speak. That way we can all hear each other. So there are written and unwritten rules that pattern our behavior. So one example could be fashion, like everyone wears Converse. Other example that I just stated was raising your hand to speak in class. A social institution, on the other hand, they're pervasive, visible patterns of relationships that are more enduring and stretch across a culture or society. So examples included the economy, government, legal system, education, religions, family, media, culture. And by culture, like culture in general, like American culture, things we might all share. And then you might have subcultures that would be part of the different social structures. So a structure of sin is a social structure or institution that denies and threatens human dignity. So examples we had from last class was a corporation that doesn't pay above the minimum wage, women or other groups getting paid less just because they're women for the same job, bullying on social media. You could explain how it's harmful to human dignity. If you look at like the education as an institution, we talked about how segregation was like an institutionalized social sin that we had to correct. So there's lots of different examples you could give for a structure of sin. And then for structures of grace, this would be social structures or institutions that promote human dignity and human flourishing. So last class, somebody said charity, and try to give don't just say charity, try to be as specific as you can. For example, Loaves and Fishes, they're in like downtown Sac, sort of off of C Street, and they provide emergency aid to the homeless by feeding the homeless in their kitchen. We had the example of like Women's History or Black History Month. This is part of the social structure of education that ensures that everyone's stories get told, so in order to respect the dignity of all people. So those are some examples of what you could do for that question. Any questions on that? So you see, these ones are much easier. They're much simpler than ones we've done in the past. So option 2, let's see. Option 2 was from Caritas and Veritate. So in Caritas and Veritate, Pope Benedict XVI explains that charity is the heart of the Church's social teaching. What is charity? Why is it necessary for integral human development? So this is a link if you wanted to, like, I still have your seminar papers. I would have graded them over the weekend, but when I went home, I left them on my desk, so I still need to grade them. But here's the link to the document you guys read. So if you want to look up definitions and things and look at it again, it's here. But we found in paragraph 5, Pope Benedict defined charity as love received and given. That's actually, we could put quotes around it. That's actually a quote. And then that was in paragraph 5. That's how you cite, like, encyclicals. You do the abbreviation and then the paragraph number. He further explained in paragraph 7 that charity must include social action, prompting I think that should be promoting. Promoting the good of both the individual and the common good. And then you could give an example of charity to support that claim. I'm not sure if he gives any super specific examples in Caritas and Veritate. This question also asks about integral human development. So let's see, charity, integral human development. So integral human development, this is the link that'll take you to the little article. There's the little article we read about it. Where were we? Boop. Yeah. So integral human development promotes the good of every person and the whole person. It is cultural, economic, political, social, and spiritual. It highlights the idea that development isn't merely material or economic. Because in the past, like, when we've talked about human development, a lot of encyclicals, like, focused on the economy a lot, but we've realized there's more to being a human being than just having material needs met. We continued here. It's more holistic. It also recognizes that human development is connected to ecological development. So there's more of an appreciation for how social justice issues are related to environmental issues in integral human development than in the past. Connecting these together, we noted truth. The truth referred to in Caritas and Veritate is the truth that all humans have dignity and therefore are entitled to loving treatment. Without this truth and love, we can become cynical and lose hope, value, and meaning. And that was from paragraph 9. The church cannot provide specific solutions or interfere with the workings of states, but it does shine the light of God's love so that we don't lose hope in the long fight for social justice. So that's just one way you could approach the question, because Benedict warned that the reason why love is so important is because it's kind of like a unifying value, and it helps us to give value and meaning to the fight for social justice. Otherwise, we can get kind of like cynical or devolve into just merely utilitarian thinking. So we also wrote here, love is a master value that gives meaning to the work of social justice. Love is necessary for integral human development because it shows that human beings have needs beyond just our physical and material needs. So that's one way you could approach that question. There's other ways you could discuss it, like in your own words, but that's just some of the things we thought of in other classes. And then finally, the third option was explain the relationship between justice and charity. How are they different and yet work together? How can you incorporate both charity and justice into your daily life? So justice, the kind of textbooky definition, is the moral virtue which allows us to easily know and give God and neighbor their due. Another way you could define it is it's being in a right relationship with God and neighbor. Justice seeks to change social structures and institutions to ensure they provide they promote the common good. So this is what makes justice different from charity. Remember we did that lesson where we watched the video about the carpenter, and then we did the pair deck on justice and charity. That's what this one's getting at. So social justice aims at trying to change structures of sin to structures of grace. So for example, if you use the carpenter from that little parable we watched, he goes to the source of the problem of the kids falling in the river and asks the question, why are they falling in the river? And he teaches the villagers, and gives them the tools to solve their own problem. So in that sense, the carpenter changed. Whoops. The carpenter changed the social structure of the village to the north, so they could care for their own children. But it's funny because in the video, the narrator says they wanted to fix their houses, but they didn't know how. And they didn't have the tools. So once the carpenter changes that structure through education and also providing the tools, then basically that's promoting justice. And then charity is love of God and neighbor for their own sake. So charity is direct action aimed at meeting an immediate need. So in the example with the carpenter, he rescues the kids from the water, and he was building boats to try to help them. Hello? Lily is... Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, bye. Yeah, so in the example, he rescues the kids from the river. They were building more boats to pull the kids out of the river, but they were getting too tired, and that's kind of what prompted the carpenter to go upstream. So obviously you can see that we need both. We need both justice and charity, because if people would have been uncharitable, then they wouldn't have been pulling the kids out of the river. The kids would have been drowning. However, it isn't enough just to meet people's immediate needs. We have to change those structures to solve the problems that cause the needs in the first place. Because the guy in his village, they were getting worn out. They were using all their resources saving the kids from upstream. So it was necessary for the health of both communities that the social structures change. So those are your three options for the writing. Any questions? They're pretty simple. Just make sure you clearly define all your terms and have examples so we can